Between 1978 and 1980, at least 10 young people were killed by Gerald and Christine Gallego's deadly spree across California as a result of their twisted sexual fantasies. Over the course of 2 long years, the serial killer duo tormented the city of Sacramento in California. During their murderous rampage from 1978 to 1980, 9 women were sexually assaulted before being shot or bludgeoned to death, and 1 male was slain instantly. Strangely, teenagers made up the majority of the victims. The victims were tied up and threatened with a gun by Gerald Gallego, who would then brutally attack them and kill them. For those who weren't shot, shovels or hammers were used to beat them to death. Charlene Williams was a spoilt single kid who was treasured by her parents from the day she was born on October 10, 1956 in Stockton, California. Williams and Gerald Gallego met in a gambling room in Sacramento. When she met her criminal partner and moved in with him a week later, she had already been married twice and divorced twice. Gallego was almost 10 years older and had a difficult childhood. His father was the first person to be put to death in the gas chamber in Mississippi after being imprisoned for shooting a police officer. He also killed a jail guard while attempting to escape. Gallego, who was born on July 17, 1946, likewise had a sex industry mother who had a long list of abusive lovers. Gallego was a convicted armed robber who had a long list of arrests at the time he met Williams, which forced him to work as a truck driver and a bartender. Williams was unaware that he was in his 5th marriage. For approximately a year, Gallego and Williams enjoyed healthy sexual relations, but then Gallego's erectile dysfunction made him yearn for more extreme pleasures. He took a runaway teen in the hopes that a threesome would be helpful. He demanded complicit participants when that didn't help the situation. Williams promised to assist him in gratifying that need starting on September 11, 1978. Rhonda Scheffler, 17, and Kippy Vaught, 16, were enticed by Williams's offer to smoke them up out of a Sacramento shopping center and into her van. Gallego, however, held the teenagers captive inside while Williams drove to the Sierra Nevada mountains, where he raped both of them before shooting them in the head. 2 days later, just before Gallego's adult daughter accused him of molesting her, their bodies were discovered in a field. On June 24, 1979, the pair kidnapped Sandra Colley, 13, and Brenda Judd, 14, from the Washoe County Fair and fled to Reno, Nevada. This time, before the victims even reached the desert, Gallego started raping them. He drew them out of the vehicle one at a time and into the distance, terrifyingly, only to come back alone with a hammer and a shovel. The pair went back to Sacramento in April of the following year, where 2 teens also perished. Charles and Mercedes Williams approved of the connection between their daughter and Gallego despite their misgivings about the latter's ancestry. They assisted him in getting a false identity so he could get respectable employment since they were concerned about his job instability as a prisoner. On June 1, 1980, Gerald Gallego wed Charlene while posing as Stephen Fail. On the highways of Oregon 6 days later, the newlyweds picked up Linda Aguilar, a 21-year-old hitchhiker. Despite the fact that she was clearly pregnant, Gallego raped, strangled, and beat her with a rock in an isolated location. Authorities would eventually learn from sand found in her lungs that she had also been buried alive. Gerald and Charlene Gallego took bartender Virginia Mockle into their vehicle to celebrate Gerald's 34th birthday. They then raped and strangled her to death. November 2, 1980, just past midnight. Prior to being dragged into an Oldsmobile Cutlass by the Gallegos, Craig Miller and Mary Beth Sowers had just left a Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity event at the Arden Fair Mall. When the vehicle pulled off, one of Miller's fraternity brothers saw all 4 of them and inquired as to their whereabouts. Because of the license plate, the student called the police, who then went to see Charles Williams, the owner of the car according to registration. In spite of Christine's assertion that she and her husband had attended the movies that evening, he verified that his daughter had been using the car. Gerald Gallego and his wife had already left for Omaha, Nebraska when Miller's fraternity brother recognized him from his mug shot. The FBI was now involved, and on November 17, 1980, the couple was apprehended at a Western Union where a pregnant Williams was picking up money that had been wired to her from her parents. She confessed in July 1982 after giving birth in prison on January 18, 1981. Charlene Gallego laid the responsibility at her husband's feet in exchange for a 16-year, 8-month sentence by consenting with California and Nevada prosecutors to testify against him. She resumed her maiden name after being freed in July 1997 and declared that her spouse had indoctrinated her into performing her heinous crimes. Juries in California and Nevada respectively found Gerald Gallego guilty in April 1983 and June 1984. He was given a death sentence, just like his father, and died in prison of cancer.